Right, in we go. Aha. Ahoo. What have we got here?
I beg your pardon. Are you Andre Lobino?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
You.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
Okay.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much. Only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah. Not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman.
Hmm.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers,
Georgie,
diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
This friend who has the manuscript,
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
she lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
Ah, I know it well. I'll drop by.
Shouldn't I have checked first?
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Ah, who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochmarn tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder.
Yeah.
It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassin.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Assassin. I can't even say it. It's so close to the word assassin. So there you go. We're playing the history of Assassin's Creed.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legends surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then, the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
Okay.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so. You're not one of those crazies who think the Templars still exist, have you?
Well, I try to keep an open mind on the matter. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
So let's try this now, shall we? Because we know it's going to happen.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Aha.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, Monsieur.
Aha.
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight.
Well, I think it's obvious what he needs to do.
What the? Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
Timber. Oh. Well, expertly done
When I
there,
woke
George.
up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean it was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. But how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod.
Yeah, okay, good point.
Let's take another look at the manuscript.
Oh, I keep forgetting to do that. No, I don't want to look at the bleeding
There's
manuscript. Blah, blah, blah.
At the night through. There's a between.
See, I can't quit.
There's a guy working on a loom.
There we go.
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if this thing fits.
Nothing happened.
Yeah,
The gem fits perfectly, but what does that prove?
maybe the tripod has to be in a certain location.
There's nothing on the manuscript to indicate where, though, is there?
Oh, to a tripod. Cool.
Maybe not.
Okay.
I'd better get back to the quest.
The quest. So what we got here? Mount Fashon. Okay. Well, let's go back to the museum. Maybe what's his name's there, and see what he thinks of the manuscript. Yeah,
Hi, Andre.
trying to think the word.
Hello, Georgie. Hey, I visited Nicole's apartment.
Yeah, she told me you came by.
Ooh, quite a fine Georgie boy. I didn't expect anything quite so sexy.
I hope you're referring to the manuscript.
Oui, of course.
What did you make of the manuscript?
It dates from the time of the Crusades.
We guessed that from the Templar seal.
It's a story and pictures like a modern-day comic book.
Okay.
What story does the manuscript tell?
I don't know. It was probably produced for the tourist market.
Tourists?
Oh, oui, pilgrims in their thousands on their way to Jerusalem. The tourist trade is nothing new, you know. It's been around for centuries. Ever since Joshua made a packet selling souvenir bricks from the walls of Jericho.
Have you deciphered any of the images on the manuscript?
There's very little I can be sure about. The slang of the book could be a reference to Mithras,
Who's he?
a Persian god, almost as popular as Christ at one time. The only thing I can be sure of is the knight. He's Spanish.
How can you tell that?
The writing on the shield, the reference to Ave Maria. No self-respecting knight from Northern Europe would have borne a coat of arms like that.
Okay.
Can you identify the knight's coat of arms?
I already did, Georgie. He's a member of the De Vasconcelos family from the Costa Calida.
Were they famous?
No, they're not mentioned after the 15th century.
Oh,
The spotlight of history moved on. They're probably long dead.
Okay. Just shrugs his
thanks for your
shoulders.
help, Andre.
You're welcome.
Okay, so he didn't really help there at all. We'll go to Montfaucon. Montfaucon? Ooh, we have another clown. Let's just stare at him intently. Okay. There's a nice manhole cover there. Bet that's going to come in handy.
In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level.
Well, since you still got this key thing, probably yeah. Excuse me.
You with the balls.
Oui,
How did you learn to be a juggler?
juggler? What is this juggler?
It's you. You juggle, that makes you a juggler.
No, I am a jongleur.
A jongler? What's that?
Mon Dieu! A jongleur is an artist, a master of the contragravitic aeroballetic mysteries. In centuries past, the courts of the crowned heads of Europe had the jongleurs, witty, erudite men to whom the monarchs turned in their hours of need.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Our enemies are at the borders. Plague ravages the land, and the peasants are revolting. Thank God we've got Chuckles the Jongler to throw his balls around. I don't think so. That juggling doesn't look so difficult.
Oh, it does not, does it not? Perhaps you feel you could do better, no?
I'll give it a try.
Be my guest.
I had no idea what I was doing. But this guy was obviously an idiot, so how difficult could it be?
Whoa.
A lot more difficult than I thought. That's how difficult.
Yay! Idiot.
Still, it was my big chance to be derided by complete strangers.
Not so easy after all, is it?
No, I guess not. Hi again.
I just noticed that the blue spot was
What
kind of on
is
his
it this
crotch
time?
then.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Le Templier? Ah, the last Grand Master, Jacques Dumoulin, was burned on an island in the Seine in 1314.
Wow. You're pretty well educated for a juggler.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Okay.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Well, I'll talk to this guy.
Excuse me, officer.
Why do you look so stunned? And bald?
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the so-so Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An
Duty.
excellent question, monsieur.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Okay. I don't know what to do.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say?
Oh.
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
We haven't done anything with his red nose. Maybe I've got to do something with him for the red nose. Or shake his hand. That'd be interesting.
Does this red
Oh,
nose
no,
mean
that's not
anything to
nothing.
you?
Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing, and not a humiliation for you.
Oh,
What do you
I
mean?
get it.
Whoever heard of a plainclothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy.
Bingo.
But if I juggle badly without it,
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you have it.
I'll
I
see
get
you
it.
around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
So we talk to this guy, show him the red nose, do the juggling
Hi
again,
again.
Oui? What is it this time?
and that'll help me
I'd like to have another
get
try
out of the way of
juggling,
this,
please.
this manhole.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No, I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon.
Ta-da! Do. Ah, haha! Yay!
The juggler was speechless with rage.
Yay!
You
Oh, an
could have
angry
mistaken him
clown.
for a mime. And without
Very
a
angry
word,
clown.
he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change.
Hmm. Cool. And now I'll go into the sewers for no reason whatsoever. What is up here anyway? Huh.
A row of old pews, beautifully carved and glowing with polish. I thought of all the people who must have sat here over the decades. All those Parisian derrieres, firm buttocks of the young ladies, the flabby flesh of the old men. That wasn't a pleasing image, so I went back to the young ladies.
Oh yes. But
Whoa!
let's talk to the old guy.
Excuse me, Father.
Pardon?
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Not at all, monsieur. It will be my pleasure to help you.
What kind of voice is that?
How long have you worked here?
Hardly work, monsieur. This is a calling. I have been helping Father Flambert for nearly 6 months now.
Flambert.
I guess you don't know much about the history of this church then.
Just a little.
Okay.
You've got quite a shine on that candlestick.
Ah, oui. Anything less than best would be an insult to the Almighty.
I guess so. I never thought of it like that.
Hmm.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
You have come to the right place, if that is your interest. Many of them were executed in the square outside. It was a disgrace to France.
Well, the Pope was right behind it, though.
Clement V was a man of mammon, not of God.
That's kind of forthright for a priest, isn't it?
You think so? It is hard to be sure what happened. It is so long ago.
You must be proud to have such an incredible collection of stained glass.
Pride is a sin, monsieur. But it is hard not to marvel when the light shines through them. It is a fine example of the artisan's genius.
Hmm.
I've got a medieval tripod.
Monsieur, you are a walking treasure house.
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Oh, let's have a go over here.
A knight, there in the company of his fellows. Biblical references engraved into the tomb edge to guide his way to the next world. I guess.
Hmm.
A scroll was a symbol of scholarship. I knew that much. A scholarly knight. That rang a bell. A very Spanish bell.
Yeah.
A statue of a knight. The statue had any secrets. It was concealing them pretty well. I didn't recognize the biblical story in it. I was a Sunday school dropout.
Hmm.
A stone knight lay at the end of a row of 4. I wondered if this guy had died in combat. A stone knight lay in full stone armor, blank eyes looking at the ceiling. Carrying all that armor around must have been hard work.
Yep. Okay. Look at the windows. Apparently these blue dots aren't actually in the original. I think we're probably right, actually. It's more for the sort of touchscreen thing, so you don't have to pixel hunt. Ooh. Okay. So let's have a look here.
The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templier.
Templier.
And something about innocence.
Mm-hmm.
My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe.
Maybe. What's down here? Hmm.
The door was a handsome piece of work. I pushed against the door, but it seemed to be locked.
Mm-hmm.
There, in the middle of the door, I could see some kind of socket.
Okay. So I need some sort of key to open that. Now, fortunately, one thing I have learned is apparently you can't die in this version. They've removed the ability to die, because that is
The wall
something.
had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. The wall seemed in very poor condition. The inscription was undecipherable. The plaster had cracked and was falling away. I wondered why.
Because it's not really a stone wall.
It was time for some brutal destruction.
Aha.
Hey, that's hollow! I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. There was some sort of mechanism hidden inside the wall, with a lever in the middle of it.
Well, pull it then.
Here goes.
And it chops your arm off.
The secret door had jammed. I couldn't get through that gap. I'd pulled the lever right over.
Okay. I'll pick that up. He automatically puts it on the mechanism. He's actually doing it automatically. That's nice. Ah, now I remember this cave. Now, the first thing I did was to go down here. There's a reason why you can't go down here, and I ended up being killed. Rather annoyingly, I had to redo the whole thing, the whole sort of puzzle from my last save game, because that was one of the things about this game, is that you could die, and unlike modern games, it didn't restart you from the puzzle, it restarted you from your last save game. So imagine if you hadn't saved for like half an hour.
In the beginning was the end. An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness. In the end will be a beginning. An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report. The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time, you have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
Yep.
must have left a trail
We recognise
that
that guy,
they
don't we?
hidden the clues to the sort of Baphomet's location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lockmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust? When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results, not petty bickering, not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within the manuscript.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Yes, he was.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, We will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition the next time that we meet. It will be to become the princess of this world!
Wow!
Okay, now we can get downstairs.
I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top.
3, huh? Like a tripod, I wonder.
The tripod's feet fitted neatly into the notches on the top of the stump.
So now we just need the stone.
The light, falling from above, struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays. And each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the left, I could read M-A-R-I-B. Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant.
Nico, I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knights Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the Broken Sword.
And
Whatever
here's the
that
game's
is.
title.
And how does the assassin fit into all this?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Plantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how do they hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria. But they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria.
The Neo-Templars are ahead of us. Klausner beat me to it.
You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to Andre, anonymously.
Yeah, since we got the...
Is there something going on between you and Labano?
What business is it of yours? We agreed all this. The clown, the Templars, strictly business, remember?
Yeah, but...
So get off my case.
Hey, look, I just ended up with, like, you know, we're going to be spending the next 5 games together, you know, we may as well talk to one another about things.
Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, Georges.
Well, why not? So we go to Spain or Syria. Well, let's go there. A few hours later, whilst waiting for my bags.